So, here's a wild thought. What if our most ancient ideas about heaven were just, well, waiting for 21st century physics to finally catch up? That's exactly what we're exploring today. How modern science is completely reshaping a concept that's been around for 2,000 years.
For most of human history, that question had a pretty simple answer, right? It was a place, a destination. But a completely new understanding of the universe, from the way galaxies bend space and time, right down to the bizarre rules of quantum particles, is forcing us to ask this question all over again. And the new answers are pretty startling. Okay, let's really get into this. We're basically trading in an old familiar map for a brand new one. And this new map, it isn't just drawn by theologians. It's being sketched out by the strange, wonderful, and frankly mind-bending rules of modern science, which reveal a universe that is so much more mysterious and way more participatory than we ever imagined.
Now, to really get a handle on this new map, we've got to first understand the old one, what I'm calling the medieval blueprint. This was this incredibly powerful idea of heaven as a distant future reward, an idea that literally shaped civilizations for centuries. And here is a super important piece of the puzzle. This whole idea of a paradise that you only get to after you die, that wasn't always the main view. It was actually a major historical shift, pushed forward by thinkers like Augustine during really turbulent times, like the fall of the Roman Empire. It became a hope for the future that would define faith for generations.
So you can see right here how the idea evolved. It went from something experienced in the now, in the community, to a future hope during dark times, and then it hardened into this fixed doctrine. But while all of this was being debated, a revolution was brewing in a totally different field, one that would shatter the very ideas of space and time that old map was built on.
And yeah, that revolution, it really started with one guy, Albert Einstein. See, his theory of relativity didn't just tweak the laws of physics, it fundamentally rewrote our understanding of reality itself. And in doing so, it changed everything for the idea of a place called heaven.
Okay, so Einstein's huge insight was this thing called space-time. He realized that space and time aren't two separate things. Nope, they're woven together into a single four-dimensional fabric. And here's the real kicker. This fabric can bend and warp. Gravity isn't some invisible force pulling you down. It's literally a curve in space-time. And because of that, time isn't absolute. It actually ticks slower the closer you are to a massive object. So a single universal clock for the whole cosmos, it just doesn't exist.
Just let that sink in for a second. If all of time, your past, this very moment, and your entire future already coexists on this fabric of space-time, kind of like different locations on a map, well then the whole idea of a linear journey to some distant future heaven starts to fall apart. I mean, how can you travel to a future that, in a very real sense, is already here?
And if you think that's weird, hold on. The universe gets even stranger when we zoom way in to the quantum level. The fuzzy, probabilistic, totally bizarre building blocks of, well, everything.
So, a couple of quantum rules completely flip our idea of reality on its head. First, there's the observer effect. At the tiniest level, the simple act of looking at a particle actually changes what it's doing. It's almost like reality waits for us to pay attention before it decides what to be. And then there's quantum entanglement, what Einstein famously called spooky action at a distance. You can link two particles, and no matter how far apart they are, even across the galaxy, what happens to one instantly affects the other. The universe is way more connected and responsive than we ever knew.
This is a stunning idea, and it's coming straight from physics. The idea that our attention, our consciousness, might actually influence and co-create the world around us. And you know what? This brings us right back to the heart of some of the most ancient spiritual wisdom. It's like science is finally giving us a new language to talk about these timeless truths.
So, okay, armed with this new scientific vocabulary, space-time, observation, interconnectedness, we can go back and look at these timeless spiritual texts and maybe, just maybe, uncover a deeper meaning that was there all along, just hiding in plain sight.
So what if this wasn't just a nice metaphor? What if Jesus was describing a fundamental truth about reality and consciousness? That heaven isn't a place you go look for with your eyes, but a state of being, a reality you access from within.
When you look at it this way, the whole perspective shifts. It's profound. Heaven moves from being defined as a physical place, a jongso in Korean, to being a quality of life, a specific kind of order, a solmuijuso. Salvation is no longer about getting a ticket to escape this world. It's about restoring our true nature, becoming fully alive right here and right now.
Which of course brings us to the most important question of all. If heaven is a reality we can actually create or tune into, how in the world do we do that? What does that even look like in our day-to-day lives?
Well, this new map actually gives us a practical guide. It all starts by shifting our most basic question. Just like space-time isn't about getting to a destination, life isn't about where you'll end up, but how you live. It's about practicing love, creating that positive, spooky action at a distance that builds real connection. And finally, it's about waking up to the fact that, just like in the quantum world, your focus, your consciousness is actively shaping the reality you experience moment by moment.
This right here is the core of it. The goal is no longer about trying to escape this world for a better one later on. It's about transforming our experience of the world we're in right now. It turns faith from a passive waiting game into an active, creative strategy for a more profound and meaningful life.
So this entire reframing, this new map drawn by both modern physics and ancient wisdom, it leads us to one final powerful thought that really changes everything.
By embracing this new map, the power to experience heaven, not as some distant place in a far-off future, but as a present reality, is placed firmly back into our own hands. The timeless promise was never about a future reward. It was always about the infinite potential hidden inside this very moment.